Aero Viper, it is Cobra Convergence V. Are you ready? The only reason why I'm here is because my Night Raven isn't ready yet, so I'm slumming it with the likes of you. The pre-flight walk-around is all set, so we're ready to take off. What, you don't use Techno Vipers to do it for you? We might as well get going. We're going to be late for Cobra Convergence V. Who the heck signed us up for this anyway? Pint Comics? Quit your belly aching and suit up. We're not all spoiled seat jocks here. I'm pure meanness, and I'm going to show it to you as we dispose this ordnance and bomb some Joes. Whatever, I just hope there's a swinging party going on when we get there.
If we remain confined to planet Earth, sooner or later we will destroy ourselves. The only long-term survival plan that works is to spread out into space. The sooner we start, the better.
Get ready for the Cobra Convergence V bombing run. Did we just pass Epcot, or was that a giant blue ball? Not a lot of bogeys on the scope today. All that's left are air-to-ground missiles. Whatever it takes to get this show on the road.
Fire missile bogey.
Aero Viper, initiate separation sequence. This goes against all common sense. Are we there yet? I'm getting kind of hungry. I just need to get to the landing strip. We're almost there. Final approach, coming in. About time, I need to stretch my legs.
Hey everyone, it's G.I. Gary from Pint Comics. Today reviewing the Cobra Condor Z25 for Cobra Convergence V. Now, Cobra Convergence is the month where we all celebrate as fans and participants with Hooded Cobra Commander 788 to celebrate Cobra, G.I. Joe's enemy. So today I'm looking at the Condor Z25 and his pilot, the Aero Viper, and we're going to just take a look and see what makes this craft unique, fun. The difference is something that you could see as a kid and something you see as an adult, and you know, the gimmicks and what have you. So the Cobra Condor Z25 is one of the largest vehicles in Cobra's Air Force. It is about 25 inches long and about 21 inches wide. And it is the preeminent bomber, housing 21 bombs, 7 in each wing and 7 in the fuselage. It also has 4 air-to-surface missiles on each wing and each canard, 1 each. So, and also, again, the aforementioned gun on the tail. Now, we'll start with the gun. The gun can flip forward with there's a little snap, and it's supposed to hold, but it does wear out with time. And then it also goes back like that. So you do have a little bit of elevation with the gun. And also it goes around in a circle with this little airfoil design they're using for a tail wing. So in general, it stays like that. So the 7 bombs on each wing, you know, you have this little clear flap that you can open and close to load, and it is visual. So this way, if you're a kid playing with it, you can see how much ammo you have left. And also, with using the bombs in the wings, you have a little lever that you slide it out, and I'll show you in a quick demo. You just 2, 3, and it goes out. It's very easy to launch all 7 bombs at once off of each wing. So it would be great for, let's say, carpet bombing the enemy. The other thing is, too, you have the 7 bombs in the fuselage, and those are released by turning the air wing foils for the engine. You rotate that with your finger, and it'll expenditure all the bombs. It's a little slower and a little more clunky than the sliding lever, but it's a great way to hide even more bombs. Now, the ones in the fuselage are longer than the ones in the wings. They are very easily lost because to store them in the fuselage, you have to have it in between 2. When I got this, it was missing one of the fuselage bombs because, again, some kid probably, left it on one and then it just got lost in the box. Now, the wing bombs are smaller and they're easy to get lost, but they're more apt to stay in there long-term in storage. And each of the air-to-surface missiles uses the traditional dog bone peg to stay on there. And they're nice and big, and you don't lose them too easily. Also, you have the manually retracted landing gear. So all the landing gear, it's not with like a convenient slide like the Night Raven. I'm figuring it out. So you have to do each one individually. And also, so it stands here. Then also you get to the very main feature of the Condor Z25. The big play feature is that when you're playing with it, you can separate the 2 mid-flight per the box. You press the little button up top here, it comes apart. And then you and your friend can each fly these. You can fly both, but then you can attack G.I. Joe or an unsuspecting civilian area with 2 bombers rather than 1. A little bit about this feature is the fact that this is something I totally bought into when I was 9 and 10, because who doesn't love a jet that splits apart and becomes more jets? Now I'm an adult, and the suspension of disbelief, a little gone, with a little bit more experience under my belt. So take a look. You have the 2 canards on the front jet. Now, that to me doesn't look aerodynamic enough to provide any lift, so this would be flying around. This would be more of a guided bomb at that point, or an escape pod for a burning rear half. Now the rear half with flight, if it's flying forward at Mach 1.5, it would have to stop midair, fire retro rockets, and then go back in reverse. Planes don't do reverse in the air very well. Usually they fall out of the sky. The only way I could see it potentially working would be if the Condor was flying up and got into a stall position, separated at the stall point, and then this would be able to fly out. That requires a little more suspension of disbelief, and I could almost buy that. However, there's one more thing though that I haven't said yet, is the fact that the one thing is with a jet is every engine has to have an inlet and exhaust. So together, you can definitely see the inlet over here for the engine. The problem is, where does the engine exhaust for flight? And, you know, where does it generate the thrust from? So right now, if you look at the rear of the plane, you really don't have an area over here for where the engine thrusts here. That's one of the things that makes this a fun toy, but as I'm older, it kind of gets in the way of me enjoying this. It's like I said, the bombing feature on this thing, home run, knock it out of the park. But as a plane, you know, let's say if you were playing G.I. Joes and you were firing a heat seeker on this, there'd be no place for the heat seeker to grab onto, because where is the heat coming from? Where's the heat going? Where's the exhaust of the jet going? I don't know. So that is an interesting point that I think to make. Now, the other thing is too, what I like to think as an adult, now, aside from the lack of exhaust for the jets, so when you snap it apart and you have its, you know, all the landing gear down, as an apart, this actually looks more to me as the front of an engine or the inlet of an engine than it does the exhaust of an engine. It does spin around in here, but what I would think is if it's broken apart, this is now a place for the Cobra Viper, the Aero Viper. You know, he could service the jet engine, you know, or Techno Viper or somebody. So this would be a service point for the Cobra Condor rather than a play feature. So this is more of a service feature. So when you have this on the ground and in typical Cobra Air Corps fashion, it's not ready to fly, something's broken, they're waiting on parts from Mars Industries, you can take it apart so they can work on the jet. That's how I more buy into it now in my 40s than I did, you know, 30 years ago. One of the things about the Cobra Condor, you know, it does seat two. So the Aero Viper, you know, because he's the pilot, it's only fitting he sits in the pilot's seat. Now he sits in the pilot seat just by laying there. So there's no joystick to go around. You know, it's pretty sparse interior. It does have a little decal in the front. And then in the rear canopy, you know, you have your co-pilot or your rear seat, your bomber or your gunner. And I'll take this canopy off and I'll say this is cracked right over here. So I'm not sure if that's a possible weak spot in the design of the toy. And then again, I like to use the Strato Viper as the gunner or the bomber, and he sits in there. Now the other thing is too, again, it's a pretty sparse cockpit, but one thing is there is another decal for targeting on the bombs. So there's no joysticks, and then they all sit nice and they come down. So the Cobra Condor pilot is the Aero Viper. Now I'm showing him here with the helmet off, and you can see it's a nice gold helmet, and I got it tucked underneath his left arm. So what makes him different is he is not surgically altered like many Cobra forces. He is somebody from the Cobra Air Corps that has risen up through the ranks and has decided to forego all of those operations and become a premier pilot with just sheer toughness. Now, that is a common trait amongst the later G.I. Joe toys when Larry Hama was not writing the file cards. So he almost is more like a superhero with that toughness. So you can see the black bandana over his eyes, makes him kind of look like a Ninja Turtle. He has some gray accents for gloves and his vest pockets with a mostly black waist piece, and overall green with some good texture. You can really see it on the arms and a little bit on the hands and wrists, but you can see it's got a lot of good features with him, and he's actually a pretty solid figure, and he looks pretty good. It's not quite a deluxe figure, mostly average, but it just enough. So we're going to reach around, put his helmet on. Now, one thing I just noticed is that buckle is gold, and that buckle probably was gold. So you have some gold paint syndrome on here where the gold paint does flake off a bit. Now, the helmet does come on. You have his bandana with the tie right there, but you put the gold helmet on, and it goes on really nice. And it's a good look. It's a little bug-like, which means that if you still enjoy your Cobra Law forces, he fits right in. And it would also benefit, I think, from a little paint on there too. So a customizer should have some good fun with that helmet. Overall, he looks the part, and it's a really good mold, I think. I don't know if I would have gone with gold. Maybe I would have done something like the Star Viper, and kept it color keyed green, and maybe paint the visor red or silver, which wasn't uncommon in this era of G.I. Joe, was to paint helmets like Bullhorn. But overall, and you can see it comes down pretty good. You can see the bottom of his do-rag, and it's pretty pretty solid guy. And does he go with the Condor? Yeah, he does fit with the Condor's theme, much like Ace does with the Sky Striker. And it's just, he's a good figure. He definitely enhances the Condor. In some respects, he outshines the Condor, in my opinion. So overall, what do I think about the Cobra Condor? It is a pretty cool plane. I think as far as my collection, I like it enough to have one. I don't need to have more than one. I don't need to have a arsenal of Cobra Condors, although I could see a collector having 2 or 3 or more, especially for if you're going to be doing bombing runs. So it's pretty cool in that respect. But what holds it back for me is the fact that it's just not a realistic plane without a way for the jet to work. It's more, right now, as far as I see, as a glorified glider with no means of propulsion. But it's cool enough that I'm glad I have one, because it's cool enough as a toy. But then it's that extra step of the suspension of disbelief that now limits me from being like, oh my gosh, this is a must-have, unlike a Night Raven or a Rattler, which are very grounded airplanes, where this one is a little futuristic, and I don't mind that as long as there's some basic principles of physics allowed. Again, the Aero Viper is a solid figure, especially with a good sculpt, and he's still solid. He's still good. A little gold paint syndrome. If a customizer was to get one and repaint it, I mean, you could really do a number. I think the Aero Viper with the Condor Z25 is a solid addition to my collection. It's, something I would put in, let's say, I'd grade it like a B, B minus. Definitely trying, but just not there. You got to try a little harder next time, buddy. And with that, enjoy Cobra Convergence 5 as it's coming to a close. For more reviews, Pint of Comics, pintocomics.com. You can follow us on Twitter, Pint O Comics. You can search for us on Facebook, Pint O Comics, and on Instagram, Pint_O_comics. I'm G.I. Gary, and you can follow me on Twitter at IGGaryV. I really like G.I. Joe toys, and I also retweet everything that Pint of Comics does. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you can get notified when we put out more videos and podcasts. And with that, see ya.
Death by Pogo. Who would have thought that's a thing? Yeah, I know, right? Nobody saw that coming. Especially that Iron Grenadier. Ha, did you have fun at the party? Yeah, but at least I didn't have to answer for blowing up Cobra Commander's car. I just said it was a giant's foot.